I'm checking to see how long this is going to take and if I can record YouTube as well as I present. So Green Business Barbados program, just for those of you who haven't gotten a chance to look through some of the documents, we've been around since about 2010 until 2012. Um, Here you have the Green Business Barbados logo. In the past, the way it worked was businesses, a number, about 11 or so people from the private sector came to the Future Centre Trust with the idea of creating some kind of standard for greening. And from there, the Future Centre Trust secured a grant from the Government of Barbados, the Ministry of the Environment, to pilot this idea of a green business standard. It worked in a way where there was one coordinator who also served as a coach and who also serves to verify that businesses reached the GBB standard. So in the past, the way you could look at it is there was one path to become a green business. There were 5 green business. There was a green business standard. There were 5 focus areas. Those areas were the waste management, reduction, recycling, the energy conservation, renewable energy, water conservation, management, pollution management and control, and it also included a standard titled education outreach. And businesses had to address all of these 5 areas, but their greenness was determined by the percentage of points which they got on a total from all 5 of these areas. So there were 5 tiers, and I'll get to show you the changes we're making with those tiers. But essentially the first tier was about up to 30% of the points. The majority of our businesses are tier 1 businesses. So just so we're clear on terminology which I'm using, I would consider the path which the green business takes is whether they're going to do all 5 of the focus areas or whether they're going to do 3 or 1. The Green Business Barbados Standard is the document which I shared in the video, which actually has how we assess the green businesses. It is actually the composition of the action items in each of the 5 GBB focus areas. So under waste management, there's a question on, do you currently measure your recyclables? Do you dispose, do you compost? So those are what we call action items. And so that we're clear the difference between the focus area, the standard, and the action items. So there are over 200 action items altogether in the Green Business Barbados Standard. So this process with one coordinator, coach, and certified took about 6 months, and the number of consultant hours which we gave and the fees, that was tied to the number of employees in a business. After businesses reached the standard, we would do a press release, we would give them an award, we would list them on our website, and we would provide support for them as they maintain their Green Business Barbados standard for a year. And businesses had to recertify every year. So in 2012, we were approached by the Inter-American Development Bank about creating a replicable model of the Green Business Barbados program. There are no other certifications like this in the Caribbean that we know of. There's another Green Business Award program in Bermuda, but clearly they approached us because they saw the potential not only for us to strengthen our program, but for it also to be replicated in locally relevant ways throughout the Caribbean. So just to emphasize, sometimes we refer to it as a grant, but it's really a financial agreement because we have to raise funds for certain portions of the agreement in order to expand the program. So it's still a pilot of this Green Business Barbados program, we're terming it. So in the past we called it the GBB standard because businesses had a certain amount of choice, but we're moving it to become a certification program, especially with us being able to employ more people to kind of work on verifying that businesses reach the goals that they reach. So with the IDB grant, we are financial agreement. There are four component areas which we have to address. Of course, we have to expand and strengthen the actual standard. So that was the document which I shared with you. And we worked to do a baseline assessment of how businesses perceive their experience of achieving the standard, which of the action items they never addressed, which of the action items they found were easiest to address, which of the action items they never addressed, and also noting some of the action items which some of them suggested. So throughout the course, you'll be looking at the baseline assessment and talking about that. So that's the first component. And I'm referring to them sequentially, but they're really all happening at the same time. The second component would be to actually implement this revised certification with 20 small and medium enterprises, at least 20. We're shooting for a lot more by the end of the year. And the training of new certifiers, this whole piece that we're doing to also market the program, this would fall under the implementation of the revised standard. Then we have to create and disseminate knowledge, which clearly we're doing through implementing, but also it will entail us going to some conferences, maybe setting up at conferences in Barbados, maybe a green zone at BMEX we've been thinking of doing, and maybe even having our own type of conference. So we're going to make sure that we disseminate knowledge, and IDB is going to make sure we do that. And then lastly, we have to develop financial products for micro and small businesses who may not be able to afford the cost of the actual certification, and also who may need access to smaller financial instruments, say if they want to install renewable energy, if they need to do an audit. So right now the Barbados government has the Smart Energy Fund, but that's more so geared to larger businesses. And since IDB was involved in that, clearly our niche is, they've awarded us the funds, so our niche is going to be micro and small businesses. So now on to the restructuring of the GBB program. So I came on board in March as the coordinator. We hired a baseline assessment research assistant to work with me on the baseline assessment, and we completed that in September. We worked to interview different businesses, and as I said, you'll have access to that. We hired a training consultant. We are just finalizing our marketing team, which would both market the Green Business Barbados program to recruit businesses and also create a package for businesses once they became certified to be marketed. So within the IDB grant, we have to hire at least 5 certifiers/coaches. However, if the program is growing, and honestly, I think if we work as a team, that there shouldn't really be, if everyone in this group stays connected with what we're doing and is diligent, there could be ways for us to employ more than 5 of you all, maybe under different types of contracts. So some of you, possibly, we could do a commitment of a certain number of hours per month, and then another batch of you could do a reduced number. But we're working that out, but for sure we can hire 5 people. So another one of the changes would be with the 5 Green Business Barbados focus areas. We'll still have 5, but instead of identifying one as education outreach, we are going to have education and outreach as mandatory for all areas. So it's something that all green businesses have to take on. And the 5th Green Business Barbados focus area would be employee well-being and productivity. So essentially, education outreach is interwoven through all of these standards. Another change would be that we're actually recruiting businesses. In the past, because it was one person working and we wanted to make sure that businesses are really committed, we had businesses come to us if they heard about the program. And now we're actually actively recruiting and pitching the idea, the value and the benefits. And that's why having more of you all aware of the inner workings of the Green Business Barbados program would benefit the program, and the program will continue to grow. Another major change would be how we monitor our program. So in the past, we'd go in, we'd set up a green team, we would develop a action plan and a sustainability strategy. We asked businesses to send in energy and water and waste data so that we could keep track of how they were doing, but it wasn't mandatory. And it was also optional if businesses wanted to set numerical targets, like they're going to reduce their electricity bill by 10%. We will work as certifiers and coaches to have businesses identify certain numerical goals, and then certifiers will come in at the end and see whether they've reached those goals or not. But whatever goal they want to set is up to them. The requirement will be that if we ask them, if we go through the action items and they start off with a certain baseline assessment, that if they achieve 30%, then they're going to get a tier. 45% of that total, they'll get to a certain tier. The numerical goals are for us to kind of report on the value of what they're doing. So yeah, we can say that someone reached 30% of the total points, but then we can also say that they reduced their paper output by this amount and so on. So that's the purpose of the numerical goal. It's not necessarily a determination of the tier which the business would be, but it's for them to have goals when they recertify. So that'll become a little clearer when I go through the role of a coach and a certifier. So this document will be available on Review. I just put it up here so that, you know, I can just briefly go through the changes. As I said, there'll be 3 Green Business Barbados options, and I had them termed as green steps, strides, and flight, but working in the marketing team, we're coming up with another formula. So I'm going to just say green business option 1, 2, and 3. So the first option will be for businesses who they're not really sure if they want to make any changes operationally, but they do want to support an environmental education project. And they want someone to come in and kind of give them an idea of what the program would entail, you know, what sustainability means to them, what it means to their employees. So this option, businesses will give a certain amount of money, and the amount of money would determine what tier they are. So the lowest tier will be $500. And then upon giving that money, then they'll get access to the green business community, they'll get a press release and so on. And we will do 2 workshops with them. I kind of measure the perceptions. So our way of measuring this green business option would be that we measure the perceptions of their employees. So it would be like a short survey where we ask them about their relationships with sustainability, their practices personally, not as a business. So that would be a baseline, because we know that all of these changes have to do with behavior and values. So this is why we're monitoring this option in this way. Another option, another option under the first option would be, as opposed to sponsoring an entire project. So we have lots of organizations which, you know, want to work with the Future Center Trust, and we want to find a way to bring that together. So this way, businesses can commit to joining us for a fee of $100, and then committing to participate in 1 to 5 Future Center Trust events. Like, that simple, because we're trying to build a community. And although we could say, yeah, join us, and it could be kind of like a free-for-all, there will be also benefits available for the green business option, where you're more sole participation. You'd still be a part of the community in some way. So this could be like for a student group, you know, 10 people in a student group, $10 a person, that's really not much. And then, you know, we can have a way to kind of organize our efforts better. Second option would be that businesses could pick 3 of the 5 areas I mentioned, based on where they are in their business, the type of business they are, you know, what their priorities may be. We would still have a tier system of 1 to 5, and that tier system would still be dependent on them reaching 30%, 45%, so on. And for this option, they will get the whole 9 yards of getting a Green Business Barbados Award, in terms of being part of the community, access to support, newsletter, press release, and discount on subsequent ones. So you can read through this more thoroughly. The third option would be that businesses pick all 5 of the areas, and we also include the cost of the waste, energy, and water audits. So for this option, the cost would be on a business by business case. So now on to an explanation, a deeper explanation on the tiers. So in the past as well, so we had 5 areas. The 30% that would determine if you're a tier 1 business was based on the total of you achieving the total of all 5 tiers. What will change is that you would have to achieve, if you say pick 3 of the 5 GBB areas, you have to achieve 30% for waste management, 30% for energy, and 30% of water, because we don't want it to be skewed that businesses, commit to doing all 3, but then, they make up their 30% by just doing waste management. So we'll measure it by each area. So tier 1, 30 to 44%, tier 2, 45 to 54%, etc. And tier 5 would be 85 to 100%. And then in terms of our fees, our recertification cost is 50% of the initial fee. And one thing we also didn't consider in the past is, will we just have businesses recertifying in a never-ending manner? I think that we should award businesses for being diligent. So if businesses achieve tier 5, and when they come up for their recertification for their tier 5, they'll be considered a Green Gold certified business, where we won't go in to reassess them. We will just ask them to send in their data, because they would be pros at basically looking at their goals and measuring their goals. So now on to payment of Green Business certifiers, our fees, and so on. So for the first path, as I said, you could either be on the sponsorship level or the participation level. For sponsorship level, 80% of the fee goes towards the actual project, 20% is overhead for us to manage the program, and to pay you all, of course. So the tiers, 500 to 1500 for tier 1, and then tier 5 will be 20,000 plus. You can look at it in between. And for that option, we would provide 2 2-hour workshops. So that would mean that if you're a coach, you'll be paid $100 for each green business option at this sponsorship level. If we have green businesses coming in at the participation level, we will also have a $100 fee, and we will also do 2 workshops with the organization, but you would only be paid $80 for the 4 hours. So the second GBB path option, which is the one which I estimate that the majority of businesses are going to use, and these prices are based on what we did in the past. The only major change we've had is to break down the cost between 1 to 10 employees, because, as I said, we're supposed to expand the program to cater more to small businesses. So, and also the number of hours which you spend with a business with a certain number of employees, this was also based on how the program ran in the past. And what we're going to do during the course is actually time our work, so we get an idea of where each of us falls in terms of that hourly amount. So the way it works is we have a GBB fee, and it is split 50-50 between the GBB program and the GBB certifier. So as it is, when we increase any number of employees, the fee also increases. So basically for SMEs, the range of pay per hour for y'all will be between $25 and $43. and we get into larger businesses, it will remain about $67. So we didn't want to skew it too much, where of course it's more profitable to work with a larger business, but you may be able to do more small businesses. If we continue to have this high ceiling of the more employees, the more you get paid, then it would kind of skew the program. And also, it could be arguable whether it's easier to work with a larger company or a smaller company. You could have a smaller company with one difficult person, or you could have a large company where they have like a strong inner team that's able to move a lot of people. So this is what has worked in the past, and this is how we're going to go forward with it. And then, as I said, for the third path, where the GBB fee will include a waste audit, an energy audit, and a water audit. These options, this fee will be decided on a case-by-case basis, and that's what Kevin is going to work on, deciding how much of an audit we actually do, and then when we're able to recognize that it's time to refer to another company. So it will still be a 50-50 ratio for Green Business certifiers to get paid. The number of consulting hours will vary, but essentially it's going to remain the same. It's going to be 50-50 because we can't do the program without you. And we're investing a lot into this program as well, so we say it's 50-50. Okay, so now on to you and why you're here and who we see you as. Who are you? We would see you as a professional facilitator of the GBB process. You would be an expert on communicating the value of the GBB certification. Everyone's individual expertise, from what we see, people have a lot of strengths. I think our individual expertise will emerge as we start to go through the course and we actually exercise being coaches. So we may find that some people work better with construction businesses, some people may work better with well-being businesses. But the focus shouldn't be to become an expert, to strictly become an expert in one area. For this training course, you want to become an expert in understanding the process, being able to facilitate it efficiently, and knowing ways to basically keep people engaged and communicate the value. So as I said, we had one coordinator in the past, and for us to be, I guess, to verify what we're doing, and consider we're not really working with an outside entity to verify our process as yet, we are working on it with BNSI. What we'll do is have two definitions for your roles. So the Green Business Coach is the person who will work with the business to do their pre-assessment, to develop their action plan, develop their strategy, to check in with them, to make sure it's going well, coach them along the way, and identify their numerical goals. The certifier will come in at the end for about 2 hours and look to make sure that the numerical goals are reached and everything has been done as according to the process. So whenever you accept a business contract as a coach or as a facilitator, we would say it, then you would commit to certifying another coach's business. So for instance, if Katrina had a business and she coached the business, then we will have Micah come in as a certifier. So we'll go in that way. So I want you to kind of think of that as you go through the training course, and also to think about what you're up against. And one of the threats or main challenges for our program is that businesses may just decide to put their own label on themselves and say they're green. People could decide to do what they want, which they're entitled to do. But we want to make sure that if people do that they are being transparent and clear. And I think this satire kind of represents how we don't want to be and what we may be facing. So as opposed to being the greenwasher, we all are professionals already, but to just keep this in mind, that you're a professional facilitator, someone who has a combination of competence, confidence, and belief. And through the training program, we're just going to try to exercise that. So we'll have a 6-week plan where we will focus on each of the 5 GBB areas. So this is our first week orientation of the 5 GBB areas. So we were practicing this professionalism, building this confidence and confidence, and seeing it emerge, because as I see it, we all are professionals already. We all are going to bring different expertise into the mix, and we're going to learn from each other. That we exercise due diligence, that we exercise our response, the rate of our response to each other, so we know that we're being diligent in reading our emails, what we need to do, because that will carry over into how you become a certifier. Also, all of our assignments will be useful to you as you become a coach or a certifier. So for instance, one of the assignments is that you have to come up with 5 what we call golden nuggets of value. So say, did you know that if you have 10 employees which drink a bottle of water a day, and you replace that bottle of water with a reusable water bottle, you'll save this amount of water. You can have branding for your company, and those kind of nuggets, probably shorter than that. So every week y'all will be generating these. So we'll have this inventory that we could pull from when we go to meetings, and kind of apply them to different areas. So it won't be any busy work in this course. It will be productive. And as I have said before, this is about peer learning, because really this area of environmental sustainability is vast, and it's really connected to every aspect of life. So to presume that one person is an expert on sustainability is kind of ridiculous. We need people of all disciplines to be here, and likewise, if we're all from different disciplines, different experiences, then we need to learn from each other. And also, to kind of facilitate that peer learning, see yourselves as co-authors for the training manual. We're doing it a little different. IDB in a way wanted the training manual developed before we did the pilot course, but the way I saw it is that we wanted to bring in as much expertise as possible. And if we're going to use your expertise on how well we did in this course, then you all should get the benefits of being authors. So if you haven't had your first publication, it is something that stands out in any field. And just to reiterate, although the IDB requires us to have at least 5 certifiers, we want this to be about collective wisdom and collective learning, and not competitive peer learning, because if we have everyone stick out the course, reach the 80% requirement, then I'm going to find ways for all of us who are already Green Business Barbados program in some way. So there's no need to be competitive or inhibitive. And as you've seen, we're going to use Wigio for the course. We're going to try not to use any paper. So we submit through Wigio, we talk through Wigio, we email through Wigio, text, call, and if you must print, as I said, print on newspaper. So now we're going to have Kevin come in and go in a little bit more detail about the syllabus. If you've got a chance, you've seen everyone's CV, but Kevin Devonish is very involved in the BREA organization, Barbados Renewable Energy Association, knows a lot about what's going on the ground in not just energy but sustainability. He's LEED certified, Leaders in Environmental Design certified. He owns his own company, AES Systems. He works with BADMC. And he actually expressed interest in the Green Business Barbados program when I first came into the position. And once the vacancy came open, we had some really great applicants, some of which are in the room, and we're glad that you're able to join us. But we're happy to have all of you here, and You know, just see as Kevin is going to lead the way for us, but we're all learning from each other.